So this past year, I know you guys have really learned a lot of deep personal lessons.
Vision being a challenge. There were multiple challenges prior to that where it'd be like a doctor saying, like, he's got a tethered spinal cord. It's difficult. Like, it was a challenge. And we were trying to surrender to Christ every day. Like, what do you want out of this?
I was calling them every single day. I took it into my own hands to get his medical records, all of his MRI imaging sent over for review.
I know that you guys are in corporate America, and it's not really a place where, they welcome this idea of, hey, let me chat about my Christian journey.
We lead with faith. We lead with Christ no matter what. If you want to know who we are, it's to know God first.
Vision, as per the Webster Dictionary, is the means by which we see or conceive. And according to the Bible, we perish without it. Needless to say, our ability to see is important. Physical blindness means that we cannot see the world around us, which in and of itself can be a daunting prospect. But what about spiritual blindness, where you are unable to respond to God's move? That is daunting on an eternal level. Through their son, our next guest had their own vision restored. Please welcome JT and Heather Slusser. Hi, guys. So we're going to start with some quick fire questions. So these are just easy, fun questions to just get you kind of into this. So are you ready?
Yep.
We're ready.
All right. What's the most frequently used emoji on your phone?
The laughing face.
Man, I don't even really use emojis, but if I do, it's probably literally just a heart. Like the heart emoji.
Nice. How about if you were a DJ, what would your DJ name be? This will be good.
DJ Chick-fil-A.
I like it.
It's just a complete vibe, a Chick-fil-A vibe everywhere you go.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. I would say either DJ Johnny Fresh or the easy one is DJ Monet.
DJ Monet. Okay, I like it. All right, now, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Ooh.
I do not karaoke, but if I did, it would have to be like a throwback, like Britney Spears or Backstreet Boys.
Nice.
Jesse McCartney for you.
Yeah, Jesse McCartney.
Yeah. Anything that would appear on Kids Bops, that's like what Heather, or like Disney Channel, that's Heather.
That's awesome.
Mine would either be Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, obviously, because that's a good sing-along. Ignition by R. Kelly, even though I hate to admit that, but everybody knows that one. That's a good
Yep.
jam. And then if I see like Heather out in the crowd, it's probably You Got It Bad by Usher.
Oh, you got it bad. All right, couple more. Has anyone ever told you you resemble a famous person, and if so, whom?
No, I don't
No?
think so.
Okay.
I don't think so either. I don't think I have a celebrity look-alike.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. We've never gotten one.
Never.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what's funny? Let me just add this. We are literally the best at going, that person looks like so-and-so, celebrity. But we've never gotten it ourselves. I'll go with Ryan Gosling for myself. That's not true, but I wish.
All right, one more. Okay, what's your hidden talent? If you're ready to unhide it.
Good talent. Let's see. Man.
I don't have one.
You juggle or
No.
paint toenails really well. I don't know. Whatever it is.
Nope.
Cut hair.
We're both really good at putting the laundry on the couch instead of our closet when it's done.
That's an amazing gift.
That's a great
Yeah.
talent.
Yeah.
We both hire out help for cleaning. Dude, I don't think we have any.
Yeah, you can
talents.
just scratch that part.
We are. You
We'll
get
leave
what
that
you
one
get.
out. No problem.
Yeah.
This is what editing comes in for. All right. Well, we'll just jump in. Well, okay. So tell us about you guys and how you met.
Okay, so I'll give you like the quick genesis here
Okay.
of how we met. So, because it's going to sound and start really, really creepy, but I promise great intentions. So, we both went to IPFW. It's Indiana University, Purdue University of Fort Wayne.
Okay.
And while there, first week, first semester, freshman year, I see this cute blonde that's walking on campus, and I find out who it is. It's, of course, Heather, and proceed to shoot her, slide into the DMs, as the kids say nowadays, but Facebook Messenger.
Oh, wow.
And there's much to be said here because we disagree as to what the message actually was. To me, I believe the message was like, hey, saw you while I was walking in class today. Like, we should meet up. And she remembers it as,
I saw you walking on campus today and your eyes were glistening in the sun. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you did not see me. And my eyes were not glistening. Like, you're so weird.
And you're a creeper.
yeah, so very creepy message. The story goes where I asked her on a first date 16 times, and she, over different occasions over the next 3 or 4 months, to get turned down every single time. And on the 17th time, because I wasn't quitting, on the 17th time, I asked her to go on a first date, and it literally was, I'm going to pick you up. I'm driving you to Steak and Shake. That's 2 minutes from here. We're going to get in the drive-thru, get a milkshake, and I'm going to drop you off. And if you don't want to talk to me again, that's fine. And one of her friends made her go. And as a result, she came. The drive-thru is wrapped around the building, so we proceeded to go in. We sat there for a few hours, and we've hung out ever since. We've been together ever since.
No, look. Any
So-
regrets
Steak
on
and
that being so difficult to deal with there, Heather?
Honestly, I just was so creeped out by his persistency that I'm like, this can't end well. Like, who does that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him.
Him. Yeah.
Well, and it's a fun
There's
fun
JT.
little tidbit because I remembered what she got, and to this very day, I know what she got: a very berry strawberry milkshake as a Steak and Shake. So I thought it'd be super thoughtful and cute that the very next day, I drop off a very berry strawberry milkshake at her door. And this is when I knew I didn't need just to win her, but I needed to win Tina as well, because she calls Tina to say, Mom, this creepy boy just dropped off this milkshake. What should I do? And Tina proceeded to say, he probably spit in that. You should throw it away. And so she threw it away.
I love this
I didn't find
story.
the story until later on, but Tina's something different. That guy.
Oh, wow. She finally took you in, right?
She took
Both
me.
of them,
She
I would
took me.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And made him a cat lover.
Yeah, that's true too.
Oh, wow.
Kind of.
Well, tell us about how you found the mill and what made you stay here as your home church.
So my mom actually grew up in a Nazarene church, and she found the mill first, actually just by driving down the road and getting Pizza King one day. So she was like, I'm going to try this church out. And so she kept telling us about it and how wonderful all of the people are. And we were going to church in Fishers at the time, and we had just moved to Noblesville. And so we were like, it's right down the road from our house. Let's go try it out. And so we came a few different times, and honestly, what made us stay was the people. And it wasn't, the glamour of the church. It wasn't anything else. It was truly just the people and the pastor and all the staff. Everybody was so welcoming and genuine, and you just felt like this is exactly where we belong. So we've been here ever since.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's what we call the politically correct answer. Whereas if you go back to day one, literally the decision was, do you want to go to Starbucks and that means we have to go to the mill because of timing, or are we just going to
True.
go to this church in Fishers because we were going to be late either way? And we
chose
both
coffee.
agreed to Starbucks.
Starbucks won.
and Starbucks in the mill.
And Starbucks let us here.
Yeah, it was Starbucks is that important, and to this day we both walk in with a Starbucks every Sunday morning.
Most Sundays,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good to have consistency. All right, so you guys both serve here at the mill, and JT, you are head of our small groups that we have. What does a small group mean to you?
Yeah. First off, if you remember, my actual title is unofficial official commissioner of, and then you fill in the blanks. So that's the actual title. No, small groups are the following. If you look at Acts 2, and if you just read starting with verse 42, how all these believers came together and they supported one another and sold each other's or sold possessions and broke bread and spent a lot of time together, and just how that's not only changed their lives but those around them, and then even onlookers, and how that changed people that kind of desired it but weren't a part of it. That's really what a small group is. That's what a life group is just a group of folks that come together and love and support. And we did this book a long time ago, and it's called Find Your People. And really the main points of Find Your People sum up life groups very well. It's who you're in proximity with, who you are consistently around, and who you're willing to be vulnerable and trust. And I feel like it starts in 1, 2, 3, like the proximity first, then the consistent fellowship, and then the accountable nature of vulnerability and trust then builds thereafter.
Can you, Heather, tell us a little bit about your life outside of the church? You're both professionals and working outside of the home. Can you tell us a little bit about like what you guys do?
Yeah, so I'm the vice president of human resources for a company called Arlington Rowe. It's an insurance company in Indianapolis, and JT also works within the insurance industry. He is the commercial growth officer at Gibson Insurance. So we talk a lot of insurance lingo for fun in the evenings.
For fun. So this question I'm going to ask both of you. So Christ and the family at church are obviously very important to you. Tell us a little bit about your background, about how God became important to you, and just, your lives and your relationship together in that. Whoever wants to go first is fine.
All right, I'll go.
Okay.
So grew up in a church home. It's born into it, as I like to say. I didn't really have a choice. That was just like what we did. I honestly think back to, I don't know what you do on a Sunday morning if you're not like in church. That's all I've ever known. And my parents' golden rule was no matter what you're doing on a Saturday night, you're in church on the Sunday morning. And I think that as just the tradition of what I was used to was kind of like something I just kind of did. It was like a check the box almost. And then as we got older and it became more of my decision that not only is this foundationary, but it's important and necessary and what I want and desire in a relationship with my wife, but also for my kid. I want that same foundationary building block, and I boil it down to one very, very specific reason, and that is as I make decisions in life, it's usually rooted in something. And I want all of that root to be rooted in Christ and what the Bible says and what it shares that we should do as a good person and how we can impact the kingdom here on earth. So very important, critical,
Yeah.
something that we're focused on.
Yeah, a similar experience for me. I was raised in a Christian home, so growing up, that's all I ever knew. I was always in church and always going to VBS or CIY in the summer. And then even in college, I would go to church with my local friends from Fort Wayne and visit, or when we started dating, oftentimes we would drive back to my home church in Wabash to visit there and just visit with family. And so it's always been something very important to us, like as individuals, but then also in our relationship together, we both knew this is deeply rooted within us as individuals. And so it's something that we made sure to prioritize in our marriage.
Okay, so I'll add to that. Literally at a prayer night one evening, we were talking with our life group about how did you find Jesus? How did you get saved? And Heather and I go, and it's the most boring story you've ever heard. Sunday school, 11 years old, basic prayer. And then you start to hear some of these other stories, and we start talking about almost like this movie style testimony. It's like that's going to make you like want to follow Jesus. And some folks in our life group that have had a different route to Christ, they actually said something that's so profound, and that is their desire for their family is that they have a boring testimony. And I think that is actually, I just got chills saying that out loud too, because you hear some of these like movie style testimonies, and it's like usually something didn't go right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, when you raise your kid, like you want the boring testimony for them. And I think that's like the foundation that we were raised in, that we're looking for our kid.
So this past year, I know you guys have really learned a lot of deep personal lessons, and have been able to really lean into, your life group, your small groups here at church. Can you just talk a little bit about that, the family that's here that you've found in your life groups, and how they've been supportive in the past year or so?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting feeling when historically you're the one saying, praying for you, here for you, supporting you. If you need anything, call me, to being the one that says, need prayer. This is what's going on. Need support. Something's not right. Hey man, can we just go play a round of golf? I need to get out of here. Like it literally, the script had flipped in real time. Something that neither of us were used to at all. And so one, it was a learning experience in and of itself for us to understand that we don't have it together. As foundationary as Christ is in our lives, and as much as we have learned, and you read the Bible 15 times, and you go to church, and you never miss a Sunday, you know all the songs by heart, it doesn't make you immune to life challenges.
Yeah.
So having the life group built for support, friendships, like we often say, if we were to get married today, 10 years later from when we actually got married, who would be groomsmen and bridesmaids? And we say that 5 of 5 would come from the church. It's crazy to think that, but that's just the reality of how important a life group is. So when you have that kind of relationship with the folks that surround you, and you are in need for what kind of felt like the first time, it was an interesting feeling, but it was almost easy. It was almost comforting. It was almost like that text where I would normally be apprehensive. I wasn't. I was just reaching out to what felt like a best friend.
Yeah. It's interesting. You spend so much time from the pulpit, literally up on stage, saying, "Get in a life group." You're gonna need it at some point. The support is there, and then there you are, the one having to say, me raising the hand, because we all do at some point. We all really do. Heather, I'll kind of point this question toward you. I know that you guys in your marriage, you've had some difficulty conceiving on your own, and the doctors actually gave you a really low statistic of being able to do that on your own. But then you were given this bundle of joy, right? This surprise. But there was a journey in there, right? You had to kind of make the choice, and the doctors were saying, it's time to end this. They pushed you toward abortion. What was that journey like? Can you kind of walk us through that a little bit?
So JT and I, very early on when we first started dating, actually both said that we have hearts for adoption. So that was something we knew very early on. But later in our marriage, we actually struggled with infertility for 5 years, and we did have a loss as well. And after some testing, we found out that we had a 2% chance of conceiving naturally, and that our son Leo wasn't supposed to be here. But throughout my pregnancy journey, at one point in time, it became more and more complex after each appointment, and I started seeing maternal fetal medicine, which is like a special high-risk specialty doctor, and all of my blood work was coming back normal, but there were several abnormal things about Leo. And they said at one appointment that they felt that he had a fatal chromosome abnormality that wasn't picked up on the blood test. They said that the blood test is not always 100% accurate, and sometimes these fatal chromosome abnormalities can still occur. And so at that point in time in my pregnancy, they advised that I consider abortion.
Mhm.
And I just remember in that moment instantly saying, it's not my choice. And I will carry this baby for as long as I can because it's in God's hands. And just all of the uncertainty was very overwhelming. But I knew that no matter what, like I had peace in my heart because God gave us this miracle child that was not supposed to be here. And that He would take care of him.
And he has.
Mm-hmm.
And he for sure is a miracle baby. Both your baby's sight and I would even say yours has been restored in a way. Could you, JT, would you mind sharing a little bit on that?
Yeah. 1 year old, this little dude. It's kind of crazy to think back to with all of the challenges and everything since like day one. You know, it's important to note that before he even got here, there were diagnosis after diagnosis after diagnosis where this dude is doomed. Okay, like that was literally what was shared with us in real time. So before we even get to like vision being a challenge, there were multiple challenges prior to that where it'd be like a doctor saying like he's got a tethered spinal cord, and then we do an MRI, and then and it's there, you know, and then we do prayer in the church. Then the next day we go to do another MRI, and it's gone. So it's like there started to be a pattern where it was like diagnosis, doom, prayer, miracle. And this happened like 5 times. Okay. That's important to know.
Yeah.
We characterize it like this. You're on a football field. It's fourth quarter. There's 30 seconds left in the game. And we're moving down the field to potentially win. And here we are on like the 2-yard line. And all God has to do is punch it in. And what I'm referencing is miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle where we're winning. Like literally hashtag winning every single time. And then here we are, and it's not the same experience where we're not winning. And what it was Leo was born, the only human being in history to be born without an inferior rectus muscle, which basically, in layman's terms, is the lower eye muscle that's used to pull the eye downward, is gone. And after a failed procedure, some other challenges, some unknown cure that doesn't exist, and all these different things, like back was against the wall. And first down turns into second down turns into third down, and third down turns into fourth down, and that's where we're at. And here we are all of a sudden at the bottom of this roller coaster ride going, my God, what are we doing? You know, I remember like a couple of times where we're literally in prayer going like, dog, like, what are we doing here? Like, what's the point of this challenge?
Yeah.
What are you trying to create? And all this like optimistic joy, faithfulness, purity of a Christian that we are is gone. And we are like, hey man, this isn't fun anymore. You're going to do 5, 6, 7 miracles in a row, prove everybody wrong. We're on the 2-yard line. You have to punch it in for the touchdown, and you're going to let us hang? Dude, that's not happening. That's not fair. And on top of that, who's going to believe in your power when you got us all the way here, and then boom, it's done? Bro, that's not anything that we want to participate in. That's coming from a 34-year Christian, okay? Like, read the Bible front and back. Like, we're bottom at this point. And I just remember, like, that feeling of just pure helplessness and no direction. and to use the term no vision, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were visually impaired in that moment,
Spiritually.
spiritually
Yeah.
impaired.
Yeah. Can you describe Leo's attitude and like through all of this, how he kind of helped you understand and appreciate what's really important?
Yeah, let me take this one too. Okay. I'll tell you why. I'm going to continue to use this like football analogy.
Okay.
Okay.
We're on board.
So the big dog takes us down to the 2-yard line. It's 4th down, and we need to like punch this thing in. And it's like we're talking Super Bowl. Okay. Like, that's where we're at. We're talking Super
That's what
Bowl.
it feels like.
We're already undefeated at this point. We're talking Super Bowl. And what's happened is we're in the huddle being me, Heather, and Leo. And what's coming out of my mouth is, dog, what are we doing? What's coming out of Heather's mouth is like, just can't believe this. Like, we've already done all of this up to this point. Like, we're winning. Like, what's going on? Confusion, anger. But then you look at little Leo, okay? Leo, the big dog, he's staring right back at us with the biggest smile you've ever seen, giggling, having the time of his life, like the happiest little dude you've ever met, okay? Like, and he looks at us and he's like, guys, it's going to be a joyful life no matter what. Relax. Like, that's literally how it felt. Give me the ball is basically what he said. And 2-yard line, we decided, hey, no matter what happens next, win or lose, we're walking out of here joyful.
Yeah.
Thanks to the reminder of this little dude who is 1 year old that shouldn't be teaching us anything. We should be teaching him, and he's taught us everything about life up to this point.
Yeah. And both of you were at this point. Heather, I know you're rocking it out, like calling, doing all of these things on behalf of Leo. Can you tell us about like that and what was going on with the consistency that you had throughout, just checking in and being an advocate for Leo?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like meeting like doctor after doctor after doctor, they all kind of said the same thing. Like, we've never seen this before. We've never seen a case like this before. And I honestly kept thinking to myself, like, how is it possible that our child from Cicero, Indiana is the only case in the world? Like, that can't be the case. Like, we just have to find a better doctor. Let's maybe seen more cases, like has exposure to a wider variety of a geographical area. And so we went to Baskin Palmer Eye Institute in Miami, which is the #1 eye institute in the nation. They see patients from all over the nation and all over the world. Patients fly in. And at our first visit there, after evaluating Leo, they also confirmed that he was the only known case in the world. And there was just so much uncertainty with that. But even getting to that point, like getting our first appointment at Baskin Palmer and getting the referral, like I was calling them every single day. I took it into my own hands to get his medical records, all of his MRI imaging sent over for review. I called to make sure that they received it, and they said, yeah, we received it, but this doctor has, 3 stacks of medical files to review on other patients before they get to yours. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll call you again tomorrow, and hopefully we can expedite his case because we need it.
Yeah.
And so I kept calling persistently every day, like, this is Heather Slusser, Leo's mom. And he's like, I know.
I know you are.
And it worked because they were able to review his case and get us our appointment. But at one point in time, they even said that we may need to go see a doctor out of Boston Children's Hospital. And we were both like, wherever we have to travel, like, we will travel the world to make sure that Leo is adequately cared for and receives the best possible care. So I did the same thing with them. I sent all of his records, all of his imaging, like called to follow up multiple times. And then it ended up being that we were able to receive the care needed in Miami at Baskin Palmer.
Yeah. Wow. Is it fair to say, JT, she's turned into a mama bear at that point?
Oh my gosh. Here's the best way to think about it. Here's the scene. in this moment. We're in the huddle. It's anger. It's confusion. It's not good, right?
No.
Leo gives us that smile, that giggle, that joy, that love, the whole entire thing. And we decide in that moment we're going to assume our roles. Leo, he takes the quarterback position. Heather, she's the coach. She's calling the plays. She's doing all the work. At that point in time,
All the work.
I'm the water boy. Heather, what do you need? Leo, what do you need? Okay, I'm not adding anything to this puzzle here. Heather's like, I got this under control. I'm calling the plays.
Yeah.
She had it. She handled it.
You know, I'm curious. We talk about a lot about you and your relationships with God and your relationship about focusing on Leo. And this is even on here, but how did you guys do relationship between each other? You know, when you hit crisis moment, a lot of times it's like you either pull it together or it falls apart. So did you pull it together, or was there moments of falling apart between you two?
I think most of the time, honestly, like those times actually made us stronger and made us like pull together even more so. Like, okay, we have to do what's in the best interest of Leo. And like, you do this, I do this, and you know, we just made it happen no matter what. Like, we're determined to do whatever we have to do. So honestly, I feel like although there were certainly challenging times, we were just very intentional about our relationship and making sure that we still had time, you know, for each other, and also that Leo was our priority and that we did exactly what he needed to.
So we're at church. We've got Leo. We're kind of at the bottom of the roller coaster at this moment, right? And Jesse calls for a church-wide fast. You are a small group guy, right? You not only are like helping organize this, you're like championing it. Like, how does this deepening of your own faith kind of lead you and your family in through this challenging year? How does it help you, or
Yeah.
focus on that?
Well, you got to go 2 weeks prior to this,
Okay.
which this is why God is God. Okay. 2 weeks prior to this is when we were at the bottom of the barrel, where all the bad news had came through, where we were like reluctant doctor after reluctant doctor. Like, we're searching for good news. It's not coming. Like, we were at the dead end, basically. And a song comes on, and it's about like surrendering and like making room for God to like work, to use us. And in that moment, felt compelled to literally like go on stage, tears, you know, and share with the congregation that like this message is real. You know, everybody started to provide compliments to Heather and I about how like, you're so faithful and so joyful and optimistic and inspiring. And it's like, guys, on the inside, we're falling apart, like as it pertains to our own joy.
Right.
And it's difficult. Like, it was a challenge. And we were trying to surrender to Christ every day. Like, what do you want out of this? Like, that was a true daily question. Okay, so it starts there. And we were stuck. It was like a rut. And institute the fast. In the fast, we made the agreement. We decided that we're going to skip a meal in particular. I mean, we did the fast, but there's one meal in particular where we are going to kneel in prayer in place of this meal.
Yeah.
And the entire prayer only was kind of twofold. One, all about Leo and our family. And two, like, where do we go from here? You know, I mean, we're talking about like, well, if he's visually impaired, then our 2-story home with the basement doesn't really work. Like, we need to go buy a ranch. You know, like, we're talking about things like this where like, no, we should slow this down. Pray with faithfulness purely about Leo and about like whatever direction he had us going. So the fast was a meal, knelt in prayer, backed by scripture, and specifically on Leo during that time.
So good. So is fasting necessarily about getting the results that you want, right? Sometimes that doesn't necessarily happen in a fast, right? It's not about kind of twisting God's arm to like do it my way or it's the highway, you know. But it seems like more for you guys on this fasting journey, it was about changing your attitude toward God. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think although our heart's desire, of course, was, for Leo to be like fully healed from everything. But this definitely taught us for sure, like our attitude makes a huge difference, like in our own lives and Leo's life, like just in general in providing care to him. So like we need to be as like positive and encouraging and supportive as we can possibly be to be the best advocate for him. But also I think the fast too brought us like peace that regardless of what happens, like we'll be joyful.
Yeah. Um, how about your small group? I know they play such a huge role in you guys' life, just day to day. But during that time, do you have any good examples of what you can share with how, your small group or the people around you around here kind of stepped in to just really help?
Yeah, I mean, first off, our small group are our best friends. It's pure love and joy. We spend a lot of time together, both inside a life group, but also outside of life group as well. And, um, a lot of which they have kids and they kind of see what's going on, and kind of see their own kids in this situation too. And like, how would they act and kind of put themselves like in the battle with us? A couple of examples that come to mind was, an encouraging word, scripture that made sense, prayer. There was one time in particular where our life group had coordinated kind of behind our backs that they were going to offer us very specific and very special prayer over us for Leo for these procedures and everything that was going on. Um, Other people in the church, we go to a prayer night. We think we're about to leave, and there are a group of folks right here from the church that said, "Hey, stick around. This is like we're praying with you guys." It was example after example after example of just pure love and support.
I I love that you went to prayer as the help. I know that people probably mowed your lawn and did the laundry and fed the dogs, like whatever you needed. I know that they were there to do that, but the fact that you lean into they prayed over us as the help, I think that's a beautiful testimony of what's really important for you guys. Um, how about your fasting now? Have you continued? Would you do it again? Like, tell us your kind of experience with that.
Yeah, we have continued actually because we felt like it was just so impactful for both of us and made such a difference, like in our attitude and the peace that it brought to us, that we want to make it a priority to just devote that time every day. And honestly, like I think it's something that just has been so meaningful for us, especially during this like time of our life.
Yeah, the fast requires a level of discipline, a level of commitment. It's not like I'm going to go on a diet and 3 days later you eat like a Snickers. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you have to be like locked in. And when we made the decision that we were going to fast in the very beginning and did so, and then to this very moment, like our desire to like literally kneel in prayer, something that we very rarely ever did prior to that, but we felt compelled to like give it to God. That right there, we're now like several months into this continued fast. So, one, the discipline and commitment to Christ that was created out of it and true sacrifice was imperative. And then number two, to do it again, 110%. The prayer focus within the fast is very important and priority for us. We're in the huddle. Our attitude is shifting immediately throughout this fast. This prayer is working. The fast is working. Heather and I, are grown so tightly together during this moment. Leo is just laughing up a storm, giggling, having a great time, and is super joyful. And we break this huddle with, it's all love no matter what happens next. Mm-hmm. And in true, typical God fashion, he takes the ball out of our hands and he punches it in for us. We walk into Bascom Palmer, this place that Heather has called 14 times a day, every single day, gets us in there. We think we walked into, because, you know, our human minds are so minimal when it comes to like truly understanding opportunity and what's capable. So we walk into this thinking that it is pass or fail. Like the stakes are either vision or blindness. It's like, what happens next? Like, that's truly where our heads were. Mm-hmm. Not only do we walk into this procedure with doubt almost, but God has shifted this doubt to pure faithfulness and joy, to where we walked in there and we're in the middle of the surgery drinking Starbucks and watching basketball games, because at the end of the day, like, we want what's best for Leo, but we know that God's going to send us in a direction that's most meaningful and makes the most sense. And at the end, he did punch it in. It was a touchdown. And it could have been a successful surgery, which it was. It could have been unsuccessful.
Yeah.
We had found that we would follow Jesus into any storm, and we'd prevail at the end. The actual physical outcome was they were able to do the procedure in the least invasive option possible. He came home with us that evening. He recovered in a day and a half, and actually there's 3 additional options that are on the back burner in the future should they ever need to be utilized. So it just taught us that when we depend on our own capability, it's so minimal in comparison to what God's actually capable of doing.
Yeah. The term like God's in control is truly a statement that you guys have leaned into at this point, right? Mm-hmm. I know that you guys are in corporate America, and it's not really a place where, you know, they welcome this idea of, hey, let me chat about my Christian journey, you know. But if you don't mind, would you read a LinkedIn post that you had put on online and just share with us some of the responses that you had from that post that you're about to read?
God being in control is literally where our heads were within this whole entire experience. And as we ended with year 1, Leo's first year of life, this is where our head was. So I wanted to share this to, like you mentioned, to corporate America, because at the end of the day, like, we lead with faith. We lead with Christ no matter what. If you want to know who we are, it's to know God first. Mm-hmm. So this message came through. Control the controllables, even when you hear the words, only human being in history. Over the past 12 months, I've learned more from my 1-year-old son, Leo, than I've taught. Beginning with a 103-day NICU stay, 5 surgeries, and the rarest ocular condition known to man, all within a kiddo's first 12 months of life, the emotional and physical weight of maneuvering forward becomes overwhelming. My son Leo is the only human being in history to be born without an inferior rectus muscle, the lower eye muscle that pulls your eye downward. As a result, his eyes were fixated in an upward gaze. Without a solution, the result of his diagnosis would amount to permanent blindness. Bascom Palmer Eye Institute, the #1 eye institute in the country out of Miami, Florida, took us in and developed a solution that would require another surgery, titanium plates, and screws within his orbital bone. We proceeded to spend the next month living in Miami. Control the controllables, a popular saying and one I consistently share with my team, has served as an anchor over the past year. However, in this moment, control was severely lacking and feelings of helplessness moved in. As Leo was being prepped for surgery, he looked at us with a gigantic smile, followed by the cutest giggle and the best hug. This little dude has more strength than I ever will, a reminder that we are in control of our emotions. Fast forward to the happy ending. Surgery was a success. His vision is fully restored. Why share such a miraculous story other than the fact that it's absolutely incredible? When you're the only human being in history, you feel like you're on an island. navigating challenge after challenge after challenge by yourself. The weight of responsibility is heavy and difficult to carry. In those moments, I've learned to lean into your controllables. Resilience. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. A quote by MLK Jr. Attitude. It takes the same energy to worry as it does to be positive. Use your energy to think positive, and positive things will happen. Quote by Joel Osteen. Enjoy. And I said, just take a look at the smile on Leo's face. Leo does the above better than anyone I've ever met. Take some notes from this little man. And as a result, he's made me better. And what was truly wild about this post was I don't post on like Facebook, LinkedIn. I just kind of like do the normal thumb scrolling.
Right.
And what was wild about this post was something out of the ordinary. You know, everybody does it. But this one in particular, out of reluctance, I decided to post this. It was really kind of like a work-related thing. And then shortly thereafter came to the understanding that it was actually probably something I just needed to get off of my own heart, my mind, to just kind of on paper, like kind of journaling fashion. So then I get on LinkedIn to what felt like 1 million notifications. And what had occurred was in 48 hours, this post had 58,000 views, like 900 likes. Not that I'm really counting, but just the stats. And then had like 70 comments and multiple reposts. And it was easy to like get caught up in like the allure of a post that's liked and enjoyed. But it wasn't until I clicked on some messages that had came through as a result. And there were like 7 or 8 folks that messaged with like comments about their kids with like rare conditions, and that now like there's like this support staff that we have together, that we have it in common. But one guy in particular had reached out, and whose kid was dealing with a similar challenge. And we ended up being able to coordinate some time to hop on a phone call together and not only share what was going on with Leo and the way Bascom Palmer supported him, but to also share Christ in real time. That our joy is not rooted in an outcome. You know, if you remember, my head was, God, we're on the 2-yard line, like, dog, what are we doing? To, hey, whatever happens, happens. Yeah. Like, it's all joy. That attitude shift alone needed to happen first for this phone call to occur and it to be positive and rooted in joy only that Christ can give.
So baby Leo can now see, even though presumably he did not have vision or was visually impaired. And now, thanks to God working on you guys, your vision has now been restored. So can you talk to us about like your hopes for the future?
Yeah, we certainly hope to just continue to lean into our relationships here at the church, lean into our life group, pour into the people that have been pouring into us and those in need. But also just continue to fast. Like, we really learned a lot through this previous fast, and just the difference that it's made in our lives personally and like our life as a family with Leo. And just to continue to lean into that is very important to us. So it's definitely something that we'll continue to do, and just be the best advocates for Leo that we can be to give him the best quality of life.
Anything that you guys would want to share that you felt like you didn't get to talk about, or you want to make sure folks out there kind of understand? Anything
I would say
you want to add?
kind of the following, and that is, life, I feel like there's 2 ways people share their life. Either a highlight reel on Facebook or a very authentic, genuine, vulnerable form of what's really going on. And it's easy to fall into the highlight reel on Facebook, whether that is by comparison or by comfort or by embarrassment. One thing that we've learned throughout this entire process is that the best way to share your life with others is through authentic, genuine, loving relationships that are rooted in vulnerability, trust, just pure love. I think that's the best way that we've been able to share our lives and in order to even receive prayer. Imagine if all anybody ever sees is a highlight reel. How are they ever to pray for something that's really in need? And as I mentioned in the very beginning, there's a circumstance that Heather and I were in where we were always the ones doing the praying. Imagine if we never asked for the prayer. And I think that's one thing that we've really learned throughout the process, throughout the fast, is that we need to continue to remain open and vulnerable and trusting of those around us to receive that spiritual love.
Yeah, there's a special blessing in allowing folks to pray for you. Not sharing that kind of takes that away from people. So definitely agree. Allow people to have that blessing of praying for you guys and knowing what's going on. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being vulnerable and telling your whole story. Just really love and appreciate you guys. Thanks, guys. Wow. We can tend to really get caught up in what we think is important. We focus on our problems at home or at work so much that they start to blur out the things that really are important in life. Thank you, JT and Heather, for taking us through your journey. My hope is that you can hear this and learn from other people's journeys. Even as they fought to restore their son's sight, God was working behind the scene to restore theirs. I imagine that some of you may be going through some difficult times. There's a God who wants you to turn to Him. He wants to heal and restore you if only you'll let Him. Thanks for joining us through this series.